For 72 seconds on one night, something spoke. It spoke on the one frequency the universe reserves for hydrogen, the most common element there is. The channel a quiet observatory in Ohio was built to watch. Then it never spoke again. And days later, an astronomer ran his finger down a printout, stopped, and wrote a single word in the margin. He wrote, "Wow." This is case file 1, the wow signal. To understand the signal, you first have to understand the stakeout. For decades, a handful of scientists have been listening to the sky, watching for one phone call from anyone, anywhere out there. They chose one frequency to listen on, near 1420 megahertz, the natural note of neutral hydrogen, the universe's most abundant element. In 1959, two physicists argued any civilization would know to use it. They called it the cosmic watering hole. The number matters. 1420.4 megahertz, a protected quiet band. The one place in all the noise where the whole galaxy might agree to meet. The listening post was called the Big Ear at Ohio State University near Delaware, Ohio. It was a radio telescope the size of 3 football fields, and it could not move. It had no dish that turned. It simply stared at one strip of sky and let the Earth's rotation drift the stars across its gaze. A long, patient stare called a drift scan. The Big Ear had 2 ears, 2 feed horns pointed at slightly different patches of sky, making 2 narrow beams. Remember this, it will matter later. And nobody watched it live. The telescope fed its readings to a computer, an IBM 1130, which printed them onto green bar paper, line by line, all night while the people slept. The night was the 15th of August, 1977, just after 10 in the evening, Eastern Time. The sky turned as it always did, and for 72 seconds, a narrow tone climbed to 30 times the background roar, then faded back into silence. Here is the chilling detail. The discovery happened to no one. In real time, there was no one in the room to hear it. The machine quietly printed the strongest signal it would ever record and moved on to the next line. Days later, the volunteer astronomer Jerry Amon sat down to review the stack of printouts. He ran his finger down the columns of numbers, and he stopped at 6 characters that did not belong. He reached for a red pen, he circled them, and in the margin he wrote one word. Wow, that red ink is the reason we are here. The code was 6EQUJ5. It is not a message, it is a record of loudness over time. The Big Ear logged intensity as a single character. Digits 1 to 9, then letters A for 10, all the way to Z for 35. So read it as a curve. 6, E for 14, Q for 26, U for 30, J for 19. 5, a clean rise and a clean fall. The peak, that letter U, meant the signal was about 30 times louder than the background noise. One of the strongest narrowband signals SETI has ever logged. And the shape told them it was real. 72 seconds. That is exactly how long a fixed point in space takes to drift through the Big Ear's beam as the Earth turns. It rose for 36 seconds and fell for 36. Not a passing plane, not a microwave oven, the profile of something genuinely out there in the sky. It was razor narrow too, confined to a single thin channel. Natural cosmic sources are broad and messy. A signal this clean and this narrow looks, to a radio astronomer, almost engineered. They traced the bearing back to the constellation Sagittarius, near a star called Chi Sagittarii, toward the dense star clouds at the heart of the Milky Way, the signal's last known direction. And here is the unsettling part. At that exact spot, there was nothing. No known star, no planet, nothing catalogued that could explain it. The bearing pointed at an empty chair. Worse, the machine never recorded which of the 2 horns had caught it, so the signal left 2 possible positions in the sky, like a witness who cannot say which door the sound came through. Now the detectives did what detectives do. They went back to the scene, they aimed the Big Ear at the same patch of sky, and they waited to hear it again. Nothing came. Amon rechecked the Big Ear himself. Robert Gray searched with a dedicated array, with the Very Large Array, with a dish in Tasmania across 6 14-hour runs. Others tried more sensitive instruments still, decades of staring at the same sky. Every result, null. One sweep, 72 seconds, and then total silence, the coldest part of any cold case. The only witness spoke once and never came back to testify. Every cold case has a list of suspects. This one has 3. None of them confess. Suspect 1, the signal itself. The idea that it was a message from someone. It was the most tantalizing reading, and it was never proof. Narrowband, like something engineered. Sitting on the watering hole, the one frequency we believed any civilization would choose to call across the dark, and it rose and fell exactly as a real source in the sky would. But this suspect has a fatal weakness. A true beacon, calling out on purpose, should be findable again. This one never repeated. Even the man who found it never claimed it was aliens. It was only the most extraordinary question anyone had ever asked. Suspect 2, the comets. In 2017, a researcher named Antonio Paris pointed at 2 comets, 266P Christensen and a second, P2008Y2 Gibbs. He claimed clouds of hydrogen around them had drifted through the beam and made the signal. For a moment, the case looked closed. Then it fell apart. The comets were not in the beam at the right time. Comets have never been seen emitting at this frequency, and it could not explain the single horn. Eamon said plainly, "We do not believe the 2 comets theory can explain the wow signal." A comet specialist called the claim rubbish, a lead chased and abandoned. Suspect 3, and the strongest one yet. In 2024, the team at the Planetary Habitability Laboratory, led by Abel Mendez, offered the sharpest map of the case so far. A cold cloud of interstellar hydrogen, they proposed, was briefly lit up, stimulated into a massa-like flare by a passing burst of radiation, like a magnetar or a soft gamma repeater. A natural fireworks burst, not a message. Their reanalysis even sharpened the old numbers. A revised peak above 250 Janskis, a frequency near 1420.7 MHz. And in archival data, they found similar narrowband signals near the hydrogen line, weaker from several other spots. Evidence the effect might be real, but hold the guardrail, not one of those was the wow signal. And here is the twist that keeps the file open. The authors will not say the word solved. "We are not saying this is definitely the case," one of them said. "It is a very exciting hypothesis. They found candidate clouds, but not the source. A hydrogen maser at this frequency has never actually been observed in nature." And other scientists pushed back. One called the scenario a bit contrived, needing several improbable things to line up at once. Another notes that ordinary human radio interference is still in the room. The strongest suspect has no confession and no alibi, a suspect that does not fully close the file. So state it plainly and honestly. No one has ever proven it was aliens. And no one has ever proven it was not. Even the man who found it stays neutral. "The origin of the wow signal," Eamon said, "is still an open question for me. Why may this case never close? Because a single, unrepeatable event cannot be re-examined. You cannot pinpoint a source you only saw once. You cannot test a mechanism that never fired again. Every theory makes the same promise. Find it a second time. And the sky has refused. The whole case rests on one circled line of dot matrix print from 1977. The evidence ends, the answer does not, and the red pen that wrote that one word was never lifted again. Today, the red circled printout is an artifact, kept behind glass, a relic of 72 seconds the world cannot let go of. 3 suspects, no verdict. 72 seconds, one word in red ink, and a silence that has outlived nearly everyone who first asked the question. The signal remains officially unexplained. It has never recurred in nearly 50 years. The file is not closed, it is only quiet. Hold on the one red circle, then let it crush to black. In the cosmic files, the case is never truly closed. That was the first cosmic file. If you want us to open another, subscribe, and tell us in the comments which file we should open next. Because here, the file is never truly closed.